From the dawn of man, indigenous people from every corner of the globe have spoken of things that have now been discounted as myth or legend. Things they saw, lived alongside by, were looked upon as deities or worshipped by gods. Things that present-day man refer to as entities, spirits, demons, cryptid creatures, extraterrestrials, and much more. But sadly, modern man, science and society has discounted what our ancestors spoke of as legend and myths. But there are those of us that know what the ancient ones spoke of is the truth. Those of us who are obsessed with finding out the truth. This search for answers brings us into the world of the unknown and unexplained. It brings us on the trail, in search of living legends. Please join us tonight in another part of our journey to find these answers and bring the truth out into the light. Welcome and thank you for listening.
Hey, welcome everyone to another edition of On the Trail in Search of Living Legends. It's going to be season 6, and I believe this is episode 10. If my mind's working
episode
properly.
10 already.
It is, right? And I'm here with my brother, my partner, Mr. Nick Valente. Nick, how's it going, man?
Doing great, doing absolutely great. And here,
What do we got on?
Here in the wonderful state of North Carolina.
Oh, which I'll be there shortly, brother.
I can't wait. Wow.
Me neither. What do we got on tap for tonight?
Well, on tonight we have cryptozoologist and field investigator Scott Pace. And Scott is out of Louisiana, one of the big freedom states, as I understand it. Scott, how are you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing great, man. Thank y'all for having me on tonight. I'm excited.
Thanks for coming on.
What's going on in Louisiana. But I really appreciate y'all having me on. This is an honor.
It's an honor to have you on, man. It's an honor to have you on.
And, Scott has so much info that we're most likely, because we're only going to do an hour show tonight, most likely have him back for a part 2 and most likely part 3, because there's just too much stuff to cover. And we want you out there to get all the info.
That's right. That's right. So Scott, you want to get into how you got into this field we love so much?
Yeah, sure. I appreciate you guys having me on. So actually, a lot of this started when I was a kid, but I really didn't put everything together because what happens is you see things in the woods, it doesn't really register, okay? Right. And all this really didn't quite come to head until 2017, 18, and 19. And 19 is when I really had a big experience. But I'll kind of start in the beginning what happened with me, and we'll go from there and then go forward. When I was a child, we lived. Let me tell you about where we live out in Louisiana. So we live in between Baton Rouge and New Orleans. And so where we are is between the Mississippi River and say where Lake Pontchartrain and Lake Marpaw is. And so one side of us, on the right-hand side, you got swamp. The other side is the Mississippi River. And then you've got some land, mostly farmland. And then you've got the Atchafalaya Spillway. The Atchafalaya Spillway is just thousands and thousands of acres of spillway that if the Mississippi River ever overflows or something, instead of that going out of its banks, they'll open that up and they're able to put all that out to the Gulf of Mexico. And so in that area is a lot going on in there too, okay? But what happened was our family came down in South Louisiana in the late 60s. And so we used to live in North Louisiana. And so my mom's mother lived up there, and she lived way out in the Piney Woods and what they would call Calcasieu Swamp in that area up in that west part of Louisiana. So it'd be in between Alexandria and what they call Fort Polk out in that way, okay?
Oh, right.
And I used to go stay with her during the holidays, stuff like this. Happened to be a Thanksgiving holiday. Went and stayed with her. And we had worked that day. She used to have an old wringer washing machine back in the day and all. So I would help her handle the clothes and stuff. And she would wash them and wring them through. And then we'd put them on a clothesline and all that. So she kind of retired early that night. And she had an old house. And the back of it actually kind of tilted like this a little bit, because it was built up on some old blocks, okay? And the old blocks are wooden blocks. And the way this thing was built, it was just a board and batten house, and that was it, a bunch of old pine and cypress and stuff they put together. And so we were sleeping back there, and they had about a 3x3 window with old metal screen back there. And I remember going to sleep that night, and I'm a light sleeper. I always have been. And I remember waking up hearing something walking around. And I told my grandmother, I said, something's outside, let's walk around. And she said, oh boy, just go back to sleep. That ain't nothing. That's the cows out there. Well, back during that time, they used to have what they call open range. And they would have cows walk around, and people let their cows walk all through the woods and everything. And they had old cowbells on. But she said, that's probably a cow or something. I said, no, Grandma, it's something else. I don't hear a cowbell. So sure enough, it kept walking around, and all of a sudden it come around to the back of the house. And I remember, like I'm looking at y'all, this thing squatted down and looked down in there at me. And his head, y'all, was huge. I mean, it almost filled up that whole entire window. And I remember it was covered. Everything was like the moon was out that night. I remember this thing coming in front of the window, and it got dark. And this thing coming down.
Can you repeat that? Something blacked out on my phone. I was muted for a second. What was it you saw?
Okay, so this creature bent down and looked at it, and actually what it was a werewolf. And
okay.
So its head looked just like it didn't have a long snout or anything, but it had pointy ears, had a big old huge head, and it was huge. It covered up the whole window.
Really large head then.
Yes, really large head. And this thing,
Scott, just a quick question about how old do you think you were?
About 9 or 10.
Okay.
So I was born in 65, and this happened about 75.
Right.
So I was about in between 9 or 10. So I was really young at that time. And I'm gonna tell y'all something. When you see something like this, I mean, it really does something to you. I remember screaming, hollering when I seen this scene. It looked in, and I jumped up to give you a little more what it looked like. It looked just like one of those werewolves, but his face was squished in. You know, it didn't have that long snout on its face.
Right, not a snout. It's a werewolf type face.
Right, exactly. And so I jumped out of the bed, jumped into my bed with my grandma, started screaming, hollering, hold on to her for dear life. And I just remember, next thing I know, I woke up, it was next morning. I had passed out. And so that was my first experience into all this. Now, I'm going to tell y'all something happened to me. And it wasn't until 2019 or after that I remembered that even happened. Okay. Oh. I blanked all that out of my mind. And so when I had my experience in 2019, it came back to me like this. I remember said, oh my God. So when I was doing my research on the computer and looking for things, I actually found something that was supposedly a head that was cut off in England. And it's supposed to be a head of a werewolf that's over there in one of the crypto museums or something over there. And I found it.
Yeah. And
one of the pictures that I have now, you know. And so that was my introduction as a kid into these things. Now, I've always heard things in the woods, you know, as I always hunt up in that area. And the area we hunt is north of Alexandria, Louisiana. It's back to the central part of the state. And that's called Kisatchie National Forest. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot going on in that area. Okay. And there's many sightings. People talk about seeing things, stuff up there, but really don't. People in Louisiana kind of tight-lipped, you would say, you know, because they don't want to be made fun of and stuff like that, you know. Mm-hmm. But down here, another thing I've heard other people talk about, they call it a hide-a-behind. You ever heard that term, hide-a-behind?
I have heard the term. Yeah, we had someone talk about it a couple of weeks ago.
They look around these trees, and all you see is this. You know, you see them looking behind the trees, and they hide behind the trees. So they call them a hide-behind. It's just a country term that you use down here, you know. And so it wasn't until 2009 came back around. I had a few little things happen to me, like I'd hear things moving in the woods, couldn't see anything, and things would happen. It sounded like somebody's walking behind me, and I just turned around and said, well, that's just my mind playing tricks on me. But in 2009, I was working offshore for an offshore company, and my cousin called me and he said, hey, are you going to come hunt this year? Because I hunted all the time. And he said, won't you come on up? And it was about December. He said, won't you come on up and see if we can't get you a deer this year? So I said, all right. So anyways, I got the weekend off, and I went all the way from South Louisiana all the way up to North Central Louisiana and went hunting. Well, they had the hunting style of hunting stands that we have. One is called a lean-in-to. If y'all know what that's like a ladder that you climb up and you lean back and you sit back, put your rifle across till you see something, you know? And so I got in there, and back in that time, they used to be able to run dogs down here. We could run dogs at certain times of the year, you know, and certain weekends. And they cut all that out now. But anyways, he said, call me on your cell phone whenever. If you don't see anything that morning, just call me and I'll run the dogs through there. And he said, we'll see if we can get you something, you know? So I said, all right. So I'm sitting there in this stand, and I hear him come I called him, and I just texted him. Next thing I hear him come up with the dogs. So he's running through our hunting lease with the dogs. And I remember the dogs coming toward me. When they was coming toward me, they were barking, chasing something, and all of a sudden they stopped. Well, whatever it was, got up and started running to my left. So I said, well, I'm gonna get down out of the stand and go to a fire break that's behind me. So I went up this fire break, and there was a hill, slight hill going up. If you go to the right, there's a creek down at the bottom called Bear Creek. And I went up and I got up on the top of this ridge, and I was standing there looking. And sure enough, I heard it was coming. All of a sudden, it stopped between me and where the stand was. So I start walking down where I thought it was, and all of a sudden I stop and I see this hole, y'all. This hole was probably about 2 foot all the way back in the briars and through the thicket right there. And I said, my God, how in the world this thing? I never even noticed this here, you know. And I stopped and I looked. Well, I happened to see this creature, whatever it was. It was big, it was black, but it had light brown highlights on it. You know, you could see it on there. And this thing had pointy ears, and it had a snout on it, but it looked like a Bigfoot's what it looked like. It was a cross between a bear and a Bigfoot, and I don't know what you call those things. I just later found it in hybrid or something else, but some people call it like a, I don't know, like a bear creature or something like that. But it wasn't a bear.
Bear Squatch.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the term they use. I never knew what it was called, and I just said it had pointy ears, but it had a snout, but it wasn't very long. But it almost had a human's face, you know. And I said, look at this thing. This thing is crazy. And he kept looking at me, but it was like it never tried to attack me. But its eyes, y'all, I put my scope up and was looking at it. At the time, I didn't have a really good scope, but I could see its eyes. And its eyes were black. I mean, just black as coal. And I'm like, oh my God, this thing looks evil. So I just got up and went out of there and went back to like a lay down area where we park our vehicles at and all that. I just told my cousin I didn't see anything, you know, but I never told anything to anybody about that. Well, fast forward to 2017. 2017, we got up there in September, latest part of September, and we go up there and we start getting on the bush hog and everything. We're cleaning off our lease. It's real thick in there, very thick. And I remember going to this one spot, and there was an area about 15 yards between where our trail was and the national forest. Well, national forest, they burn it off every year. It's really clear. We had a spot that was on top of a ridge that went down to a creek, the same creek I'm telling you about. It's really, really pretty. But you had to go all the way to the ends of our 2 different ridges. We had to go all the way back to this one area. So my cousin said, look, let's just take a chance. Let's try to go to that thing with the bush hog and see if we can cut a trail through there. I said, well, let's go. So I'll stand back, and if something limb tries to knock you off or something, I'll let you know, you know. So he took off real slow going through that, and he cut a trail. Right at the same time, I began to smell something. This thing stunk. I don't know what it was, but it was a cross between something dead, like roadkill, and urine. And that's, I can tell y'all, it stunk. And so I kept telling my cousin, I said, man, something stinks up in here, man. I said, God, I don't know what it is. He said, well, I think that's one of our cousin's dogs. He said, he probably came back here and died. You know, I said, well, okay. He said, we have to go find it this weekend at some time. But what they did was they built a box stand. So instead of putting them off the ground, they just leave them on the ground. They bring some cinder blocks over there and put it on top. And so that's what we're going to do that weekend. And so he said, well, we'll after we get this deer stand set up, this spot over here, so we'll go ahead and come back, and we'll come back to this spot, and we'll go find that dog and bury it. And I said, okay. So he said, well, go ride the rest of the lease on your golf cart, because I have a gasoline golf cart. It's jacked up off the ground and everything. He said, go ride the rest of the lease and look and see if you see any spots that we missed. I said, okay. So I started riding around. Well, I come around this one spot, and something told me to stop. So I stopped, and I just got off and I started looking around, you know, and all of a sudden I look down and I see this footprint. Jeremiah, that footprint that I sent you, that's in the pile, that's what I seen. So that started all in 2017 is when that started. So I started thinking about, you know, what in the world could make one footprint like this, but no more footprints. And I walked back and forth, and even went and got my cousin and come back. And I told him, I said, hey, man, I said, there's one footprint. So he started looking at it. He said, well, that could be anybody. He said, somebody walk around. I said, in the middle of summertime, they got, you know, copperheads, they got snakes all out here. I said, I don't see that happening, you know. And I said, well, you know, so we just kind of blew it off, you know, but one footprint, which is really, really strange. And when I got into all my research and started looking into it, I'd listened to this one lady, and she talked about how these creatures can come in and out of what we call reality or something like that. And what they do is, it's kind of like if you and I were walking down the street and I stepped off into the mud, off the concrete, and stepped back on. So they can step in and out of reality. And after that, my brain started just going crazy, thinking, so what in the world have I got myself into, you know? And so at that time, I'd only seen those two things, but the one when I was 10 years old, I didn't remember that all, but I remembered this other thing. And so I always remembered in my mind that something could be out there, you know? And so the following season, not too much happened. I heard some stuff and everything, but not a whole lot. And I want to say that's the time when my cousin lost his deer. And so we had, he had shot a deer, and he called and told me, he said, I went right up to that where that deer was, where I shot it. And he said, by the time I got there, the deer was gone. And I was thinking to myself, I said, no. I said, I know you shot it. He said, I shot it with a 2.7. He said, this thing is dead. He said, I knew it was gone. But he went up to go get the deer, and the deer was gone. So that was one of the first ones we had stolen from us. So total, since then we've probably had 4 or 5 deer stolen from us, you know, when we shoot them.
Wow.
Yeah. And so leading up to 2019, that season there, I remember getting into one box stand we have, and we don't have any, we only got one stand that's elevated now, but the rest of them, we used to keep them on the ground, you know? And what we do is get cinder blocks, and we just put them on top of that. We'd go inside these things, put Mr. Heater on, you know, and keep warm and stuff in there. And you had your 3 windows you can hunt out of. And so I remember going in during muzzle loading season, and I got inside this stand. It was real thick at the time. They hadn't clear cut our lease or anything yet. But anyways, I got into that stand, and sure enough, about 7 o'clock, I see this big doe come out, and she starts walking in front of me and everything on the side. So I ease up the window, and I have open sights on my gun. So I put the gun out, the rifle out the window, and I put it right on. It's a 50 cal. Okay. It's a CVA, and boom, I shot. Smoke went everywhere. When the smoke cleared, I seen her laying there, and she was kicking. All of a sudden she stopped. I said, okay, I've got her. So I got out the stand, started walking toward her, got about halfway, and she did just like this. She was laying down, the legs were heads down, and just did that.
That's unreal. Wow.
Looked, and I'm like, what in the hell just happened? The head's down, the thing comes up, and the legs are just limp, and it took off just like that. Now, I never seen anything there, but at the time, I didn't understand that they could cloak and all that, or they could go invisible. But that happened right in front of me. And that was that weekend. Okay. I go back the following weekend. It's rifle season now. So I go and I sit in this. I went that morning, nothing happened. Okay. So I'm going back that evening, 6 o'clock in the evening. And so I go into the same stand, put my rifle in the corner. So 30-06 Remington automatic. I put that thing in the corner. I sit it there. Okay. And I kind of looking out the front. We have a real long shooting lane in front of us, and it's all clovered up and grassed up and everything. So we have everything there. And I'm looking out that shooting lane, and I start playing with my phone a little bit. I said, it's not quite dark yet. It's about 5:30, something like that. And I start looking in front of me, and all of a sudden I get this really high pitched noise in my left ear. So you ever got that high, like tendonitis type thing where your head starts going sideways? Well, this is what happened. I never had tendonitis in my life. All of a sudden I get this high pitched noise. And my God. And all of a sudden I look to my left, my gun starts vibrating in the corner. So I grab it. And I look over, and something catches my eye. When I do, I see this thing do this. And it stops, and it's just looking at me. And I go, what in the world is that? So I take my cell phone and I turn. And I zoom in on whatever it is, and I click on it. So it looks like a stump. So I don't know what the world that thing is. So I grab some little binoculars that I had, and I start looking at it. Well, I have a really good scope on my 30-06. So I ended up looking, I seen it. I said, it kind of looks like a person. I said, I don't know. It kind of like, it looks like it has dreadlocks. And I said, that's kind of weird. And so when I pick up my rifle and I looked at it, I could see it real clear then. And I could see the skin. The skin was really oily. It was black, y'all. When I say it was black as coal. I mean, just black. And the eyes are what got me. It had the white part of its eyes like that, but the eyes inside there were yellow and orange. And they seemed to be almost kind of moving a little bit, you know. It was kind of weird. And I looked at that. At the same time, y'all, I seen this thing to its left, and it moved. So I moved my rifle over and looked at it, and I seen this thing come up and do just like this. And when I did, it had a long dog's like a wolf's head, had 2 big old ears sticking out, and the sides of right here was gray, and this thing was black right there. and that was a Dogman. The top of its head, I never seen its waist, y'all. I seen just the top of it, and I seen its arms and stuff like that. It looked like a tall basketball player. If you could take a real tall basketball player and look at its arms and everything, that's exactly what it looked like almost a human type top. And it was built now, very muscular, and it just looked at me.
So you think he knew you were there?
Oh yeah, I'm just getting started. This is where it gets interesting. For people that don't believe in the woo and all that, here we go. When I did my first interview with Kerry Arnold, it was a few months after I'd had my sighting, and I was scared to death. And I really didn't even want to go into that. I really didn't. But I said, well, I'm going to spill the beans. Y'all can go back and look at that interview. I want to say it's like 138 or 139 on his interviews. And Bigfoot Odyssey. You can go back and check that out. I was scared to death. I can't lie to you. But now I've done so many, it's just, either people accept or they don't, you know. But anyways, as soon as I put that gun on it, it started mind speaking to me. And it sent a message to me, telepathy. And it said, put the gun down now. I'm going to come over there and tear that building up and kill you. And I was like, wait a minute, I understood it. I said, what in the heck is going on here? And all of a sudden that Bigfoot turned to it and said, stop, don't do that to him. I said, leave him alone. He's just looking at us. And all of a sudden I had my gun like this, and I never put my finger on the trigger, Vic, and I never do that, okay? Look, my finger's always here. I get ready to shoot. Then I move it over and pull it into place, and I just pull, you know? And so I looked at it, I'm like, my God, I said, and I said, look, my finger's not on the trigger. I'm just looking at y'all. They began to bicker back and forth, y'all. They were talking about it. Well, he's got his gun on us. Well, he's not going to do anything to us. He's just looking at us. I'm just checking y'all out. So all three of us are communicating then. At that time, I never speak before, never had any of the stuff until it did something to me. Now, since then, I've been able to hear them, talk to them, everything. I know this is strange, and y'all believe me, it's strange for me too. It really is, but I just accept it. It's one of those things where after this happened, I really thought I was going to have to go and get some serious help, psychological help.
Yeah, right.
But at the same time, who do you go talk to?
Exactly.
You know, who's going to believe that?
Exactly.
That probably put me in a crazy house in 2 days, you know. But anyways, I just listened to this for it started getting dark then, you know. And so I began to listen to them talk back and forth and everything. They're getting after it. And all of a sudden, this other voice in an audible tone said, leave now. So, man, I got my little backpack with all my calls and everything on, and put it on and grabbed my rifle and left out that thing. Well, I have to walk out. And when I do, I have to parallel where they are. So I'm walking out. I'm not running, but I'm running pretty quick. And my finger's right there by that trigger just in case. And so the way I had positioned my golf cart to get out, I heard my cousin at the same time he cranked up, he was coming out because that dark we just leave. So it was right at dark. The sun had gone down behind the trees, and so it barely daylight, you know. And I remember hear them coming through the woods. The crazy thing is that it wasn't just 2 of them. There was at least 4. I sent you the pictures and showed them to you.
Yeah.
You can see that circled in there after looking at it now. Oh yeah. There's quite a few of them in there, and people say that Dogmen and Sasquatch or Sea-Tonga, whatever, don't run together. They do. They very much do. And those were together. Now, I think that the Bigfoot or the Sasquatch is the leader of them because it told him what to do. And it's telling him, look, don't fool with him. Don't attack him or anything, you know? And so if you look at that picture I sent you, there's the gray one with black stripes, and there's a solid gray one there. And that's the other one. And so anyways, when I got back to my golf cart, I was sitting there just looking. I went to go crank it up and everything. And when I was looking at them, I could see the trees moving. I said, oh my God, here they come. And I just started telling them, I said, look, y'all may kill me today, but I said, I promise you this. I said, I've got another magazine I can load pretty fast. And I said, I've got 2 more boxes of shells on me. I said, you come to them trees right there, I'm going to blast holes in all of you. And I said, y'all go ahead and come on out. I said, I'm going to start shooting. I said, you may give me a day, but I promise I'm going to start shooting. But they stayed in there. And so I remember getting in my golf cart, and I went on to my cousin's house. And as soon as I got there, I was shaking. I was thinking I could leave. And I told my cousin, I said, look, I got to go. Something came up. I got to go. He said, what? He said, you ain't shot a deer yet. He said, you don't need to leave yet. He said, what's wrong? I said, well, I made up some excuse to tell him I need to go home. Well, when I got home, I had to drive 3 hours to South Louisiana. So I got home. My wife's like, what are you doing here? Did you get an argument with somebody? I said, no, we don't fight. We don't argue up there. You know, we don't have those problems. And I said, look, I got to tell you, because she was surprised because, I mean, I just come in the middle of the night, you know, and got probably about 10 o'clock or something like that, or 11. And she was surprised to see me home, because I'm here. I'm just coming inside the house, She was, this is crazy. So I said, I got to tell you something. I got a picture too. And so I showed her what happened. I told her what happened. She was, oh my God. I said, yeah, she was in shock too. I said, well, after that, things started getting kind of crazy after that, and I ended up going back hunting even after that and shooting 8 points. So that wasn't a bad season at all, But the following April or May, maybe it was March or April, I can't remember exactly what it was. They had to come and clear cut our 40 acres that we hunt on. And so my cousin called me and he said, look, he said, they're going to cut it. He says, nothing we can do about it. We lease it. I said, well, let them cut it. I said, you never know. I said, you get all that underbrush and everything there. And I said, it might be really good for the deer, And I said, they like that stuff.
Yeah.
Middle of the daytime and sun and all that. And, we can get them in the evening time. He said, yeah, we'll do that. I said, well, no, we do. So let it happen. So one Saturday morning, I'm sitting there drinking my coffee. I was sitting in my recliner and got up. I had a rough week at work and all that. So I'm just sitting there relaxing. I get the same thing again, high pitched noise. And all of a sudden I hear this voice, and this voice comes to me and says, why did you cut the trees? And I'm like, I didn't cut the trees. I said, that's not our land. I said, let me explain to you. And I just started talking like talking out. I said, let me explain something to you. I said, we don't own that land. I said, you only see me there about 5 or 6 times a year at the most. And I said, I only go on that property to hunt 2 things. And I said, that's deer and hogs, and that's it. And I said, I don't hunt squirrel or rabbit or anything else there. And we don't take anything else from that land. That's all we hunt there. And he said, well, they cut all the trees. And he told me, he said, that was our home. That it goes to show y'all, that is where they live at.
Yeah.
So after that, I felt like it was like they was talking to me through a veil, and
Sure.
I've seen a lot of things since then. That's been like 4 or 5 years ago since all that happened. I've had a lot of things happen to me. I put a lot of things to the test. I've read people's books. I went into full blown research after that. I mean, just every book that I could buy. I bought everybody's books. Just people didn't believe I bought their books. I had to go on sometimes Facebook. I talked to them and stuff like that. And I said, well, look, I bought your book and it says this, And so it's kind of funny, comical sometimes. But when things like this start happening to you, you can actually call some people out on some things. I'm not trying to be ugly by no means, but there are different levels. People think that they are apes and all that. They're not apes. They're a race of people. They're completely race of people. And I don't know how to vouch for the Dogmen, which here in South Louisiana, go into that a little bit for y'all. They call that the Rougarou or the Loup-garou. Now, if you come down here in South Louisiana, there's a lot of that stuff that goes on down here. And there's different legends to go along with it, But if you go down, there's even quite a few videos that's out on YouTube and all that. I've got one that I say that a lot of people go bow fishing at night. You ever heard of that? How they go bow fishing?
Yeah.
Like with a bow? Yeah.
Yeah. So what they do is they take a big, which I would call a John boat. We call a bateau down here. And you put big lights, LED lights all the way around it. And they basically, you just go slow, real slow. If you can get like a trolling motor, you use it, or a big trolling motor or something like that, or you get something and just keep on going with that. And that's what you do. You go real slow and you shoot fish all night long, whatever fish you want. It's just, a lot of times it's on the Gulf Coast. They shoot like speckled trout and redfish and stuff like that, or whatever else they can get. Garfish, if you go to Texas, a lot of garfish. But that is where a lot of these creatures hang out down up in there, and some other creatures too that's down there, which I won't go into. But anyways, just a little bit of background on that, and a lot of them are in this area where we are. A lot of sightings. I've had 2 officers tell me stories. So here in Louisiana, we call parishes. We don't have counties,
Right.
But they were actually, which I would call county officers, tell me stories about it. And what's funny is there's one swamp, with a swamp to our east, and there's a swamp northwest of us. And there's one that's our family of them living in there. And what's really funny is there's a huge golf course right next to it. And it goes to show you they can live anywhere they want.
Anywhere. Yeah.
Anywhere they want, But that's what's incredible is there's so many things that are going on here in Louisiana, and so many other things that happen here with all these different creatures and stuff,
Scott, what about, like if you're night fishing and stuff like that, what about a problem with alligators? Anything?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's alligators all down here. You just kind of like you got to be careful with them. But at night, you can actually see the eyes. The eyes are red.
Yeah.
And so, if you're frogging, like a lot of those guys frog right now, they have a different season on frogging. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, right now the frogging may be closed. But anyways, at certain times it'll open and close and stuff like that. So what people do, you'll have one guy or woman, whatever, guys and women both do it down here, And if you, they'll lay on the front of the boat and they'll reach their hand down there and grab them. Well, now only have to worry about alligators. You got snakes and stuff too, So you bump a tree and the snakes fall down in there with you. We have a thing down here. People go crawfishing. I'm sure have y'all had crawfish yet?
No, I tried when I was in North Carolina and haven't had it since.
Right. Okay. I got to come to Louisiana and get some boiled crawfish. It's really good. But anyways, I went with a friend of mine and we go through the swamps like that. And we had hit a stump one time and all these snakes just come out of it, snakes all over the place. But I actually heard stuff while we were crawfishing, didn't know what it was, but you couldn't see it, This cloaking thing that they are able to do is just incredible. It's crazy because you think you can see something there, but you don't. You don't see anything there.
Right.
There's nothing there, one of the things I learned that I can share with y'all is if I'm looking for something that's cloaking, always look for the eyes first. Always look for a shape of a head or the eyes or something, looking around a tree or something. Always look, if you see two trees, look in between them, always. And you're going to see something there. And that's pretty much how this stuff started with me, and I started doing different things and testing different things too. And so one of the things, there's a guy out of Washington State. He used to be in Oregon, but his name is Matt Johnson. Have you ever heard of that guy?
Sure.
Yeah, had Matt Johnson. Okay. So I'm going to tell you something happened. So I got this guy's books, he sells his books online and all that. So I got into full load research and I got both his books. And he says that there's two types. There's a good type and a bad type. Okay. And he calls them either the Janu or the Tracon. Okay. And he says the Janu are good ones. So one evening after that happened, I guess it was 2020, I was sitting in one of those stands over there. I was looking out across our lease. They had cut the lease thin and everything was cut. There was nothing there. It was just trees all over the place, just chopped up trees and stuff. So I started looking into the national forest next to us. And I said, if you are the Janu, I said, would y'all please give me a sign, show me that you're real. So I put his book to the test. All of a sudden, I sent you those pictures too. All of a sudden, I started seeing these silhouettes of these heads, these faces all over the place. Now, out of nowhere, this female comes behind this big old huge pine tree and does this. I'm like, what in the world is that? She has a baby sitting on her hand.
Wow.
That's one of the first times that I've seen, them coming back now and doing that to me. Okay. And so since I've seen them run by and stuff like that, and I've seen them cloaking. I've been in deer stands before and seen them where they just look like a flash going by. They just look like that. And at first I thought I was like seeing a ghost or something that was going in the woods, I said, man, it might be a ghost or something. And I just kept on seeing flashing. Well, then I looked to my right and I see something kind of peeking around a big old huge pine tree like this. And it was one that had gone by. They were cloaking. And when it come by, and all of a sudden I looked, I said, I got you. I just turned and looked at it like that. And I said, I see you. And it's like it was nothing. It just turned, kind of stayed even with the tree and walked away from me. Yeah. So one of the things I've learned is I got another guy's books and he says start talking to him. If you want to form a relationship with them, or if you want to form a just let them know that you're peaceful. Okay. So one of the things I do.
Scott, what you're basically talking about is Sasquatch right now, right?
Yes, sir. All Sasquatch, not Dogmen.
Not Dogmen.
I don't trust the Dogman, the Rougarou, as far as I can throw it.
Good.
Now, some people say that. Look, listen to me. I don't. I got some other stories about them that even now they're not nice. I don't trust them. I really don't. And so, but the Sasquatch, they seem to, they stick to themselves until you get to know them and stuff like that. And so every time I go into the woods up there, I'll go around our property. We have property up there too. And every time I go up there, they seem to want to be around us and stuff. They're always come around us. And so they really don't, they've never tried to hurt me. I've had them come right next to me. I mean, just right next to me, but every time they're cloaking, they're not trying to do anything to me or anything like that. One of the things that happened this past season, I was walking out and I didn't see anything. It was during muzzle loading season, the early part of the season. I was walking out and I had my rifle on the back of my shoulder. So I'm just walking. And all of a sudden they said, stop. Let's look down. So I stopped and looked down. Sure enough, there was a big old print down there in the dirt, in the mud. One footprint. I'm like, oh,
One
God.
print.
One print again. I said, this is crazy. I look back and forth, still doing it. And all of a sudden, I feel my muzzleloader do this. So one was standing behind my muzzleloader, moved it like it was standing in front of it or something like that. I thought that was crazy, you know. But
yeah, that's wild.
Getting back to the thing and talking about these books, out of these people's books, I bought a lot of people's books, okay? And from 2019 to 2021, I don't know how much money I spent, but it was a lot of money. And I just asked my wife, I said, look, it's on Amazon. She said, get it, buy it. She said, do what you got to do. I started buying. So she's really cool with it, you know. So she doesn't get offended by any stuff or anything like that, you know. And we've had some experiences here at our house. And so have you ever heard of people talk about them coming in your house?
Yeah.
We've had a couple of people, but if you want to go ahead and go through it, that'd be great.
So a couple of years ago, my wife had a really bad surgery. It didn't go well at all. So she had to have hip surgery, and they had to put pins inside of her hip to keep it from moving. And so it was pretty rough. It was really hard on her. It was hard on me. And we live in a 2-story house. So our bedroom is upstairs. So she ended up having to sleep in a recliner downstairs, y'all. So it was really, really bad. And I don't know. I felt bad about it, but not much I can do about it. But I stayed as long as I could home with her. And then I had to go back to work because I work an evening shift at my job and all that. So I had to go back. But anyways, I was at my job, I was about ready to get ready to get off my shift and everything. And so she texted me. She said, there's orbs in the house. I said, do what? She said, yeah. I said, no, that's a reflection off the lights and everything. She goes, no, I'm telling you. And she said, 3 of the lights on the track lighting in the kitchen, she said they moved. I said, you got to be kidding. She said, no. So she took a picture and sent it to me. Sure enough, you know how you take those lights and you can move them different directions and all that to get the lighting in a long piece of room, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They took 3 of them and pointed our way, like toward her. Okay. And then these orbs, she took another picture. I thought there was a light reflecting off of we have a stainless steel refrigerator and stuff. So I thought it was coming off the refrigerator. And she said, no, watch. They come right next to her in a chair, and she took the picture again. They were right next to her. So when I got home, I began to mind speak to them. I asked them, I said, why did y'all do that? Why did y'all move the light? And why did y'all take what does the orbs and stuff mean? Well, the orbs are actually, they go into an orb form and they can form a protection. So that's a form of protection right there. And so I said, well, why'd you put the lights on her? They said to keep evil spirits away. You know, when you're a kid, you sleep with a light and all that.
Yeah.
There's something to the paranormal with that. Now, I don't know what that is, and I'm not claiming to be an expert, but we just went along with it, right? So we went along with it. But the 3 blue lights I thought was really, really incredible. I thought that was very interesting, you know?
Yeah.
So
yeah, for sure.
During that time, she wasn't able to go anywhere, go on vacation or anything. So I had a friend of mine, a guy that I made friends with. His name is Barry Webster. Have y'all heard of Barry and Derek Webster out of Macy, Nebraska?
No, I haven't.
No, I don't think so. No.
Okay, so if you look up there, the thing that they have on their Facebook is called Res Squatching.
Okay.
So if you look that up, so these guys actually go out, and if people come over there, they'll take you out and you get to see all that. You get to see everything you want to see. So I talked to my wife, and he'd been telling me, he said, Scotty, you need to come see us. Come over here and come hang out with us. You know, you've had a lot of experiences and everything. He said, you need to come over here and see what we have on the res. And I'm thinking to myself, man, I don't know. So he tried to get me to come to springtime. I said, nah, it's not really working out for me. So our schedule is real busy. I can't get off. But I said, I can probably get off in the wintertime. Slows down a little bit then, you know. And so he said, okay. And so I checked with him. I said, what about the first part of October before we get into hunting season? He said, yeah. So I talked to my wife, and she said, yeah, go ahead and go. She said, I can't go on a vacation or anything. So I said, all right, well, that's what I'm going to do. So I went and bought my plane ticket. We got a rental car, flew into Omaha, and went straight up to Macy, Nebraska. And so I went over there and stayed the weekend with them. The first night we were there, I mean, the wind was howling and stuff like that. That wintertime was just coming in. And we get cold weather down here, but not like that up there. And so I got there, being a cheapskate that I am, you know, I got there on a Thursday and I actually left on a Monday. So if you fly on the weekends, a little bit higher, right? So anyways, I flew in on a Thursday, and they didn't quite have the cabin ready for us. And so there was a lady that offered up a little small camper that she had, and so me and Bear was able to, stay in that camper and all that. And so that's what we did. We stayed in a little small camper that she had, a little travel trailer, and we got to know each other. We talked all night and everything, and finally, he said, "Well, I'm about to take a little nap or something, go to sleep." He said, it's gonna get active after a while. So I'm just sitting there, I'm on cloud nine, I'm just like vibrating, And the whole time I'm trying to mind speak to him, and I kept telling him, "Come in the window, let me take your picture, let me take your picture." Never would. So, anyways, he woke up about 1 o'clock. So I got to take a leak. And I said, all right. So he goes outside the camper. All of a sudden, a few minutes later, he opens up the door. Said, "Come outside." I said, "What?" And I went in his house. I said, "Man, it's cold out." He said, "Put your jacket on. Come out here." So I put my big old overcoat on, my hunting jacket. And I crawl out there. And all of a sudden, I look. Never seen this before. Eye shine directly in front of me, about 9 foot off the ground. And the eyes, y'all, are turning. They're doing this like a kaleidoscope. And they're doing. I said, "Oh my God." So he said, "Just talk to him. Let them know who you are." I said, "Well, I'm Scott Pace. I'm from South Louisiana." I said, "I come a long ways to see y'all." And I said, "Anything you want to share with me or whatever?" I said, just talk to me. I said, I mind speaking stuff or telepathy. I'll communicate with you, whatever you want to do, or you can just talk to me. And all of a sudden they started mind speaking. They said, "Sing." I said, "Sing." They said, "Yeah, sing."
Sing.
How do I know that? So I like to sing all the time. So I began to sing them a little church hymn, from church and all that. So I sang this hymn and stuff like that. And next thing you know, 2 little ones rose up, y'all, just like this. 2 little ones. One was about as tall as we were. I say little ones. One was about 4 foot, and the other was about 6 foot. Okay.
Yeah.
And they rose up, and they come out of nowhere. They just like this, And I'm like, my God, it's not like they were down. They stood up like that. They didn't do that. They slowly come up. And I'm thinking to myself, how in the world do they do that? This is crazy. And so, anyways, we sat there and looked at him for a little bit. He said, "It's cold out there. I'm going back inside." I just stood there. He said, "You stay out here as long as you want." So I'm like, talk to me. I'm just standing looking at them. They never would talk to me. They just stayed there looking at me. So I said, "Well, I'm going to go back inside. It's cold, so I'm going to go back inside." So we went to sleep. And he said, "Don't be surprised if they come in the middle of the night and slap on the side of the camper or something like that." So, okay. Well, they never did that. What they did, they come over. This is funny, y'all. They would get on the top of the camper and they would rock it.
Yeah.
All they did. And they left. And they come back and they do it again, rock it again. And I'm like, "Man, this is cool." I said, come to the window and take those pictures. I didn't even think about taking my camera out trying to get a picture at night, right there with them. I didn't even think about it. I was just so, because I'd never seen anything like this. So the following day, their team comes in. They call their team the Squatching team, and all. They come in. So we get to meet everybody, and so we set up the camp and everything. They cleaned it all up and all that, and I got to talk to Barry and stuff like that, kind of one-on-one for a little while before they got there. And some of his other relatives came, and I got to talk to them and ask them about different stories and stuff like that. And they said, "Oh yeah, they've got a lot of stuff happens on the res." Well, on the res, you have to understand that not a lot of people go there, right? That is a sovereign land for them.
Right. Yep.
So I didn't quite understand all that, and I didn't know that. They have their own police system and everything else over there, and I didn't know that. So Vic, you probably know more about all that stuff, than most people, know and everything. But the federal government gave them their land, and they have their own police force and everything there.
That's
I didn't
exactly it.
Yeah, I didn't know all that.
It's all protected area, right?
Right, exactly. And so I asked him. I said, "Barry, let me ask you. For everybody guests, so we just sitting here talking, sitting in some lawn chairs and talking right there." And I said, "Let me ask you a question." I said, "What is the craziest story you can tell me that you remember you've ever heard? Craziest thing out of anything?" He said, "Well," he said, "my nephew had gotten in some trouble with the local law and everything." He said he'd done something, whatever it was, but they were chasing him. But he kind of went through the woods and out maneuvering. But they had this tall brown grass. I'm talking about that tall brown grass that grows in wintertime. So he started running through that stuff. And all of a sudden he couldn't go no more. He just went for a few miles and laid down. He just kind of like this was pooped. He couldn't go anymore. He said all of a sudden he's laying there and he feels the ground kind of moving. Then he looks up in front of him and it's like a Bigfoot came out of the ground. Walked over to him and just looked at him. Yeah, just looked over and went like that, turned and walked off. Looked at him and goes like that and turned around, walked off and everything. I said, that's one of the hardest things for me, y'all, to see and to understand is how these scenes can come in and out of stuff like that, But they do. They have the abilities. The abilities they have are incredible. They can do all kinds of stuff. But, a lot of times you see these pictures and you'll see just a head.
Mm.
and you see it by a log or by a tree or on the ground, you're thinking, where's the rest of the body at? You know, are they laying down kind of weird or something like that? Or how does this happen? You know, but they can do a lot of crazy things. So anyways, the rest of the team got there that night, and we had went to one of the local casinos that they had there, and we ate and everything, got to know everybody on the team and all that. And then we started going out researching that night. Well, that night I got to ride with two guys that were professors or scientists from the University of Lincoln. I can't remember what they were, but these guys are pretty sharp. Okay. And I got to ride with Barry's brother, Derek. So he was off that day. So he came with us and he rode with us. And me and him got to know each other and was talking and everything. And I told him all about Louisiana. He wanted to hear all about Louisiana and stuff like that. What, you know, Indians we had down here, American, you know, Native. I told him all the different types they had down there, everything, and a lot of names he never even heard of. And so anyways, we started going, when we got back on the res, we started going up this hill, and I started looking. They said, look close, y'all look, see if I'll see anything. Sure enough, I said, there they are. So we stopped, and we seen the eye shine. So we pulled off this little logging road, I call like a dirt road, and we all got out. Well, sure enough, as soon as we get out, Barry looks over at us and he said, y'all hang back a little bit. He said, this is where, what do you call him? Stevie Wonder. So this is where Stevie Wonder's at. I said, why y'all call him Stevie Wonder? He said he does like this all the time. He does his head like, I said, you gotta be kidding. He said, no, he said he does it. When he looked at you, he does like this. I'm like, oh my God. So anyways, he said, look, it's been a long time. He said, I understand that y'all are not quite happy with us and all that. So he starts going to this big spiel. So we kind of staying back, you know, and this is all new for me. I'd never experienced anything like this. So he said, all right, y'all come forward. He said, and I could see the eyes all over the place. When we got there, they had white eyes, blue eyes, yellow eyes, red eyes. Never seen any orange, but at least one or two pair of red eyes. And I didn't understand that at all. So the way I understand is if they're kind of excited or there's something going on, they're going to have red eyes. Like, you know, they may, I look at it as but nobody ever told me any different, that they may be ready to pounce or something, you know? So I don't know if they were guards or what. So anyways, we walked to the edge of this road right here and we start talking to them. So I introduced myself, said, hey, my name's Scott Pace, like I did the old and all that. And all of a sudden, this is the strangest thing. They don't walk. They glide when they come down. And all of a sudden, all the eyes turn white and blue, and they start coming down. And when they came down, there was 4 of them right in front of us. And I'm telling y'all, my house, I have a 2-story house, and my house is like 26 feet tall, okay? And I had to look at it like I was looking at them across the road on this bluff, and I had to look up like this at them. Now,
holy shit.
The picture that I sent you, there was a couple of men there that I seen in the daytime. They were 13 feet tall and taller. These had to be at least 15 feet tall, at least, you know.
That's a big boy.
4. Well, they had 4 of them come down right there, and they had these other ones all around us. And so all of a sudden, what they call Stevie Wonder, he snuck around on the side, and Barry eased on the other side, and he kind of got in between us, and he was talking to him over there. And I was trying to look at that and look at them and looking at, this was all way too much for me. I mean, my mind is just going crazy right now. So I'm looking around things, and I'm like, okay, I'm Scott Pace. Anything you want to talk to me about, just talk to me. And they just kind of looked at me. Now, the next thing they said, well, okay, we're going to go to another spot. I said, well, wait a minute. I'm still kind of trying to communicate with them, you know. And I looked at this one, it's way off in the distance, and it's behind some trees. And it sits there and starts looking at me. Then the next thing that happens, I see this prism come out of its eyes and starts coming to me, starts coming back. And I just locked eyes with it like this. And I just kept going back and forth. And I'm looking at it. I'm like, oh my God, man, this is crazy. So I don't know what it was doing, if it was reading my life or what it was doing.
Yeah.
But anyways, I told her I had to go and I had to leave. And so anyways, we left and went to another place. The next place we went to was by an old house that was over there. And I don't know anything about it. It was somebody's grandmother's house that was over there. Very active area. But these were different. These part here, we'd see them and they would run. They'd run around. They'd run around again. And then they would make all kind of weird noises. And they said, okay, we don't really feel good about these. Let's leave. So we left there and went to one other place. And it was called Hard Knocks. And so we had to go down this hill and go way down and went to a cul-de-sac way in the bottom of the thing. And they said they camped out there a good bit. And they turned around and there was a vehicle in front of us and we was behind them, okay? So there was 2 vehicles and the people in front, it was kind of cold at that time, so those people kind of stayed in there and stayed. But we got out, and me being from Louisiana, I was cold, so they had two guys, and they were sitting there talking to the two scientist guys were talking to Barry's brother Derek, and he had his phone out, so he was showing them all kind of pictures and everything. So I was on the front of this guy's Jeep, and I was kind of hunkered down like this, and the other guy, he was next to me right here on my left, and then Derek was next to him on the right front fender, and then the other guy was behind him. All of a sudden I hear boom, like that, and that's all I heard. And Derek started busting out laughing. I mean, just dying laughing. And I said, something just ran by us. He was just dying laughing. He said, that's how fast they are. One was in a tree above us, dropped down, ran next to us. The guy that was standing next to me, he brushed up against him and ran down the hill.
Wow.
Milliseconds. When I say fast, milliseconds. That's how fast it was.
People have no clue how fast these things are and how large they are.
Right. So I'm going to give you a website to go to, a Facebook page to go to. You can hear us talking on there. You're going to hear me.
Oh, okay.
So this is called Nox, N-O-X.
Okay.
Gigas, G-I-G-A-S. Nox Gigas.
Okay.
That's this guy's a scientist. His name is Richard. If I pronounce his last name right, I'm not sure, but his last name is Soul. S-O-E-L or something like that. I'm not sure about the last name, how you pronounce his last name. I only seen him like one time. But anyways, that's his website. He's got a lot of stuff on there. And anyways, if you go to that one, it's just a recording. And after that, I started kind of singing to him, like I was getting nervous as all get out. If they can get that close to us, they can come by and smack you upside the head or something like that, So I was really kind of spooked a little bit. And I started singing, Janu, Janu, you are Janu. I'm like going, singing to him, saying, like, okay, don't come over here and knock us in the head or something like that. It was kind of funny. But anyways,
Scott,
yes,
can you give me that website again? My two pens that I had here were dead. So found
sure.
one that works.
I got
K-N-O-X?
N-O-X.
Just
Nox.
N-O-X?
N-O-X. Yeah, N-O-X. Nox Gigas, G-I-G-A-S.
Oh, G-I-G-A-S.
Yes, sir. Nox Gigas. And you can go there and look at all Richard's stuff he has there, okay? Like I said, he's at the University of Nebraska, and he goes into a lot of stuff. He even goes to the part about the eye shine, explaining that kind of stuff. So look at his site and stuff there, and it's really, really interesting, okay? So the next day, it gets really funny. So the next day, we all went back to that cabin and stuff and stayed there, and we slept and everything. So the next day, you get up, and some of the guys kind of tired, and they said, well, nothing's going to happen till at night. And so they said, so Barry's brother, Derek, he said, well, look, y'all want to go take a ride? I said, sure. I said, heck yeah, I don't sleep much at all now. And I'm here trying to find anything I can, And that's when I got those pictures that I was telling you about. So anyways, we go around and have a bison pen there. I'm just thrilled to death to see buffalo or bison, We don't have that. So I see this big old huge pen and stuff there, and we get out of the truck, and he's riding around, and he starts talking to him in his native language. Hey, Situnga. He starts saying all kind of stuff. I can't repeat what he said, but anyway, he starts talking to him, right? And all of a sudden, we see this one about 6 foot tall run out of the woods. Okay, so let me explain the bison pen to you. There's like 6 or 8 strands of barbed wire on these metal poles going to the ground. And then they have the corner post, where the corner posts are like 6 by 6 or railroad ties. They're big. They're really big. Okay? Right? 12 by 12s. They're really big. So in the far distance, there's this one. He runs out there and he starts dancing. He goes like this, grabs the pole, then he goes back and forth. He grabs up, and he's just doing this back and forth. And I'm like, look at this. This is crazy. This is a Bigfoot. Okay, 6 foot tall, going back and forth like this. And then the guy that's with me, his name's Peter. He's also a scientist, and he's just going, and laughing. I said, dude, go get your binoculars. I want to see this. So I start pulling up, I start looking at it. It hits me. Take the picture, dummy. Take the picture. So sure enough, it's way over. It's probably 100 yards over there. Okay, so you imagine trying to take an iPhone 6 and try to shoot a picture across a football field, right? So here I am. I'm zooming as best I can, and I'm taking pictures, right? So I'm clicking some pictures and stuff like that. But what you see there is all of a sudden you see these, and there again, it's how do they do this stuff? I don't know. Look up in the tree, there's at least 4 of them in a tree. And there's none on the ground. And all of a sudden I see this big one starts walking across like this, y'all. Now, if this one is 6 foot tall, how tall is this one walking across? This one's 6 foot tall. This one's 6 foot tall. It's to this one's waist. And it's walking across like this.
14 feet.
At least, yes. I look to the left, and sure enough, there's some more big, huge black ones back over there. I took that may have been a female walking across, and the males kind of stood off a little bit. They were talking to her, and they were off to the left. And then I was just like, man, this is crazy. He said, you have to understand. Wild. He said, nobody comes here. Nobody comes here. I was like, my God. But if y'all go to Res Squatching on Facebook, okay? Go to Res, write this down, Res Squatching.
Okay.
And that's where you're going to find him at. If you get to make friends with him and you get an invite, go. But understand, go with an open mind, because you're going to see stuff there that you've never seen before. Promise you.
Sure.
It's just after this, I'm telling y'all, I got back to the airport in Omaha, and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, I will never have to do researching again, ever. I done seen all I need to see. And sure enough, they might have spoke to me in the airport. It's crazy. They said, the best is yet to come.
Is that what they said? The best is yet to come? That's great.
And I'm like, and yeah, I've had some, like I told you, it has gotten better. So I'll give you one more story. I know we're getting close to an hour. So this past season, I was telling you, I was out there sitting in a linear tube, okay?
Yeah.
And I take my rifle and I lay it down until I see a deer, and I can pick it up, and then, you know, within a few seconds, you know, I can pick it up and shoot it, harvest it here, okay? So anyways, I'm looking there, and I see the big old huge pine tree. This thing's got to be, I don't know, 40 inches around. It's huge, man. I'm looking around like this, and I look to this, and I'm scanning, I'm looking, I'm scanning. There's a creek in front of me. It's a long shoot lane going down a hill to a creek, and then there's there's a ridge on this side, and there's another ridge over here on this side where it goes down, and then goes up to a ridge. This one goes down and goes up to a ridge. So I'm hunting this whole area, okay? And all of a sudden I look, and there's a figure standing there. It just walks out, just standing there. So I look, and all of a sudden she said, you have a gun? I said, yep, I have a gun, but look, my hands are here. I said, I'm not going to shoot at you, I promise you. I said, I'm not here to hurt you or your family. I'm not going to do anything to you. And I just kind of like this. Okay, so I'm like this. And I did my hands like this. And I said, like, I'm not going to shoot at you or your family. And all of a sudden, the same thing. They started appearing. They started coming out. But she was standing. This is really strange now, okay? She's standing there, and you could see her. She's buck-ass naked, okay? And she got everything sticking out, her boobs and all that. You know, they weren't hanging out. They were sticking straight out. I was dying laughing, y'all. I start laughing at her, and she got offended. And she said, why are you laughing at me? I said, well, it's just not every day you see not only a Sasquatch or a Bigfoot or whatever, a forest person, whatever you want to call yourself. I say, it's not every day you see one standing buck naked in the daggum woods. And she looked at me and she said, you know, she said, had y'all not sinned in the Garden of Eden, you'd have been standing here naked too. And it got me. And I'm like, wow. Oh, okay. I said, touche, you got me. I don't know if this
sounds like they know something.
They know a lot. They know a whole lot. And so I said, I stood there a few minutes, and she stood and she kind of went back and forth and kind of pivoted around there a little bit, you know, and they had some other ones that were in the trees and they were moving around and stuff. And I said, well, nothing's coming out, obviously. So I said, I'm going to leave it to y'all. And I said, I just waved at them like that. And I said, I'm going to get down. I'm going to get out of here. So I got my little backpack, put it on, and I got my rifle and climbed down, and I left, you know. That's one of the coolest stories that I've got. And I've had them come by right in front of me. So when 2019, my father, we came from, our family actually came from up north Louisiana and came down here to work. And so my dad in 2019 gave me and my wife the land up there. So we started clearing off the woods and everything, and actually made a big old huge pad to make a campground. And so that's what I'm going to do, is make a campground up there. Initially, I wanted to put a camp, but y'all know how prices have gone out. They've doubled now with everything.
Oh, yeah.
And so the campers are within my reach. You know, we wanted to get one of those Amish cabins like this up there where y'all are, you know, up north. Yeah. And so we were actually going to order one of those and have it shipped down here because they're really pretty, you know. And I wanted to get and bring down very, very nice. At the time, they were very reasonable too. But Now they're out of reach. I can't do it. They're $80,000 now, so it's a little bit too much for me. But But anyways, we're going to make a campground. That's what we're in the process of doing. I'm almost finished with it, and so we have all the utilities put down and all that. And while we were there, I was taking pictures, of the progress we had done and all that. And I remember sitting right here taking a picture and video and stuff like that. And all of a sudden I see this flash come by. All of a sudden my darn iPhone quit working. I said, God, dog. So I pressed a button, would look at me, but it wouldn't go forward, wouldn't work. This ran in front of me and zapped me. It zapped me and zapped my phone and messed up my phone. But the funny thing is, I got a picture of it. I think I sent that picture to you where it's kind of faded. What you're going to notice in the picture is, you're going to know, see my hands? My hands are the trees, right?
Yep.
This is shimmering looking, but I caught it. Okay. So this is normal. And in the middle, it's kind of disfigured and all that, but that's it running across. And you can, if you look real close, if you draw it out, you can see the head pointing that way, which is crazy. And I got it on camera.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So, I mean, that's how close they come to you. I mean, I've had them real close. I got one more crazy story I'm going to share, which is incredible.
Yeah.
While we were there, we went one last night over there. We went to this one place they call Monument. And it's really sad that a lot of things had happened there to the, to American Indians and all that. But anyways, they put a monument there to mark it and all that. But we were there and we pulled up in this truck, and there was we was in this guy's truck. He had a 4-door truck. And so me, Barry, this other man, and his sister, Deej, was there. So Deej was in the back seat talking to me and stuff like that. So we pulled up. He said, Scotty, get out. I said, no. So hold on a second. And anyways, they began to mind speak to me. They said, don't get out on this one. So I said, okay. So I listened to everything they said. I wasn't going to disobey them. So I got there and looked at Deej. She said, what happened? I said, they told me not to get out. And she said, well, I ain't getting out. And I said, well, that's between you and Barry. So he kept on. Deej, get out. Deej, get out. I said, she goes, oh my God. I said, well, I'm going to pray for you when you get out. I said, you'll be safe and all that. So anyway, she got out with him, but they only walked to the front of the truck where the lights would be. Okay. Only walked to the front of the truck. They got out of the doors and went right there. That was it, where the bumper is. So this guy that's with me, he was smoking a cigarette. So when he got finished with a cigarette, he put his cigarette and rolled his window up. He's going to roll. I said, no, leave mine down. I'm okay. He said, you sure? I said, yeah. So all 3 of the windows up except for mine. I seen the eyes shine all around me. So I began to take pictures at night. Now at night, they only look like, people say they see them at night. If you see them at night, you're very lucky, because the only way they come in is a dark shadow. That's all you're going to see. Okay. The eyes in a dark shadow. That's it. And so I witnessed this myself. And so they were all around us. Okay. And I could see them over here and I see them over here. You could hear them walking, just moving all around. And so I seen them out there and I began to take pictures. And all of a sudden I looked in his rearview mirror and I seen something coming. Okay. So I've got my iPhone. It's right here by the window. All of a sudden this son was going to pass by, stopped, turned back like this and reached in the window to grab my iPhone. I said, no, I felt it. It rubbed my arm. I said, no, like that. And it looked at me and it walked up and then mine spoke to me and said, what is that? I said, it's my cell phone. I said, you can't have that. I said, that's how I communicate with people and stuff. So it walked around and you could see a dark figure walking in front of it, of the truck. Okay. And it went over to Barry and tried to do something to him. And they took off running and got back in the truck. It was hilarious. I died. But I actually got a picture, and I don't know if I sent that one to you, but I will send that to you. And what it is, it's a face that looks just like this. You see my face in the thing, it looks just like this. And I caught it looking down at me when it was turned like that, and I took his picture.
Right.
Awesome.
I was pretty quick with that. But that's what you're going to see. But I'll send those pictures to you guys. And that way you see everything I'm talking about. I have pictures for. I have everything to back up my stories with it. And these stories are really crazy. And believe me, had they not come and talked to me and spoke to me and stuff like that, and they said, this is one of the things when they were talking to me. So I began to have a conversation with them, and I started asking them. And so I'm trying not to get religious with y'all and stuff like that, because a lot of people get offended. But I have to tell you some things, okay? And I'm not going to quote scriptures and all that to you, because I've done it in the past. I won't do that now. But anyways, I began to ask them. I said, do y'all know Jesus and God? And they said, yes. I said, well, I was going to be a smart aleck. And I said, how can I be close to Jesus and God? And they said, well, you need to be more, what's the word they use? God, it just slipped my mind. Oh, come on. Anyways, they gave me a word to use. And when it came to me, it was like to be more holy, to be more godlike. Okay. And man, that's crazy. I just slipped my mind what the word is. But anyways, I asked them some other stuff and everything and had a conversation with them. And I said, look, I'm really having a hard time with all this understanding everything. And they said, it's not what you believe, it's what you're willing to accept.
Right.
Which is pretty deep, you know? And I said, wow, that's kind of crazy. You know, it's not what you believe, it's what you're willing to accept. And they said, well, it's kind of like this. When you turn your phone on, you accept that it's going to, you know, they asked me, said, do you know how your cell phone works on the inside? I said, man, I can barely operate the darn thing. I don't know how it works on the inside. They said, yeah, exactly. They said, don't try to figure it all out. Just go along with it. You're going to get farther than what you can believe and what you can even understand. So I said, okay, I'm going to go. So that's how I've got this far, is I just go along with the flow. And anyways, it's worked out for me, you know, fairly well.
It sounds like it, Scott. It sounds really interesting.
I haven't had any bad experiences. People have bad experiences with them. I think that's maybe the meat eaters or the bad ones. But as far as so the word is reverent. So if I ask you guys what the word reverent means, you know, and that's exactly, I had to go look it up because I didn't know. And they said it means to be more holy or more godlike, you know. And so I said, okay. But anyways, I asked them a bunch of questions, crazy things like that. I asked them, can you levitate? They said, yes. I said, can I go in and out of portals? Because I had seen things before that I couldn't understand. They said, yes, humans can go in and out of portals, but it said it's really hard on your body and all that. They said, it's not a good idea to do that. So I said, okay. So anyways, you know, I think that's pretty much a lot of the stuff that I'd researched in and gone into and done. And as far as go down into the woods and looking for them, I'm not one of those guys that goes beats on trees and all that kind of stuff. I don't have to do that. I know it sounds different to a lot of people, but they come to me. I mean, that's the way it is, you know. And so if I do my research, it's in the wintertime, and I have a lot of good success, a whole lot of good success. Right. And so I basically have a relationship with them, you know. And once one knows you, they all know you, okay? So just understand that if you go into a different area, maybe some are intimidated by certain people and stuff like that. And I had one zap me. We went to the mountains in the Smoky Mountains one time on vacation. And I had one zap me one time and I actually got really sick. And I actually, you know, chunked and all that. It was crazy. They didn't want me in that area. I don't know why, but they were intimidated.
I've had the same thing happen to me, where my equilibrium got thrown off and hit my knees, vomited. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to
with that, Jay, we're past the hour and we're running out of film.
Oh, yep.
Scott, we're gonna have to have you back for a part 2, man, because we gotta delve into this a bit more.
Yeah, and I'd love to get into more of the UFO experiences I've had and stuff like that.
That would be great. Yeah.
The portals, and I'm trying to count how many UFOs I've seen. Actually, me and my wife seen one together, which is really funny, and it's got a funny story to it. But I'd love to come back on and talk to you about it and the relationship between the UFOs and all that stuff and how they tie together. So I'll put all that together for you guys. What I know, you know what I'm saying? I'm not an expert by no means. I mean, I've been in this since 2019, which is probably about 4 years, but I've gained a lot of experience. And the best experience you can have is talking to them. You know, they'll teach you a lot of stuff.
Sure.
So
it is. Really.
You know, main thing is respect. That's it. So
that's it.
All right, guys.
Absolutely. That was amazing, Scott.
Hang on a second, Scott.
Sure. Yeah. If y'all want questions, you can ask me any questions you like to.
All right, bud. Yeah, everybody, sorry we had to cut it short. That's our hour for the night. We are going to have Scott back on for sure. That is no doubt in my mind about that. He can finish telling us his experiences. Check out, we have Nick just started a new IDP group, International Dogman Project Europe. Check it out. Check out all the IDP groups and our other affiliate groups on the trail, Paranormal Cryptid Research, and check out our YouTube channel at Paranormal Encrypted Crossroads at Paranormal Encrypted Crossroads Research. Excuse me. A little tired tonight, so everyone check it out. You get a chance, and it's been a great episode, Scott. We thank you once again for coming on. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Scott.
It was an honor.
Can I do one more plug for y'all if you don't mind? So I have a Facebook page. It's called Kisatchie Forest Bigfoot and Dogman. Kisatchie is spelled Kisatchie. Kisatchie Forest Bigfoot and Dogman. And Kisatchie Forest runs right down the center of Louisiana from Alexandria to
Right.
North Louisiana. And if y'all could come and check us out over there, we have a lot of good stuff on there.
Definitely
Thank you,
will.
guys.
No
Appreciate
doubt.
All right.
No
Thanks,
doubt.
Scott. Everyone, have a good night. Everyone, God bless. Be good to each other.
Good
Have a
night,
good night.
everybody.